You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller here to drive you home after a 4-2 loss to the Minnesota Wild. The 4-game win streak is over, and now the Sens head out on the road after a less than inspired 60-minute effort.
Yeah, Ross, that was a good old slice of humble pie there. We thought the Sens were riding high. You don't have Josh Norris here, and number 22 is in the game. The roster's a little different than usual, and things don't turn out so great up against a playoff contending team like the Minnesota Wild. And for me, it all boiled down to that second period. I mean, you get outshot 8-0 right out of the gate. They just look absolutely lifeless to start. And sure, they bring it back near the end, but too little, too late.
Too little, too late is certainly the definition of this one. We'll get into what happened at the end. Was it DJ Smith's fault, or did the players on the ice have to do better to control the puck? I think I forgot to intro ourselves, and that's what happens when we have, for the first time, all three of the Postcast crew all together. I'm Ross Levitan. With me, as always, is Brandon Piller, and joining the Postcast with boots on the ground tonight at the Canadian Tire Center, it is the Martian himself. How are you doing tonight? How was it in there? Third period must have picked up a little bit.
What's going on, fellas? Yeah, it was an interesting night to say the least. But yeah, the crowd wasn't very heavy. I was expecting probably a little bit more, butts in the seats there. But you know what? Yeah, it was fun. It was fun regardless. We had a lot going on out there. It was an entertaining game to say the least. I mean, having two fights in the first period alone right there was like a lot of fun. Getting the DeBrincat goal. But yeah, I mean, as far as the crowd goes, I've heard louder this year, especially at the CTC.
How did you feel about DJ Smith's decision with 2:36 left in the third period on the power play? They win the draw, but immediately after decide to pull Anton Forsberg.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think I heard his post-game comments just right afterwards, and he said the reason that they did that was because he wanted to get his best players on the ice, and they had possession. So if he was going to do it, then was the time, right? But I don't really love it because obviously the end result there was it would have, instead of them just clearing it, it just turned into the end of the game, right? So one mistake was the difference maker, and I don't know about that one. That was a bit of a tough call, I think, in hindsight, obviously. But and also, like, guys, how often are they really practicing a 6-on-4 power play too, right? It's like they're almost better with just like the 5-on-4 and rolling like that. I just felt like, they didn't really need the extra skater out there. When their power play is buzzing around, they're dominant and they get the shots and they get the chances. So to me, it was kind of a weird decision, but I guess they were going for it. And I don't know. I guess he just felt like they weren't really gelling or they weren't popping off, so that he needed the extra guy to get the offense there. But I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't love it. I don't hate it, though, because they did score on the power play with 2 men up earlier in the period to make it a 1-goal game. Ultimately, they fall 2 goals short after a Frederick Gaudreau empty netter after DJ Smith pulls the goalie with 2:33 left. And they didn't have a timeout, and that's where it kind of gets into my mind, where does Drake Batherson know that Forsberg's leaving the net right away?
No.
Because that's a risky pass to make. Sauce right up the middle through 3 bodies. It's likely that someone's going to get a stick on it. Frederick Gaudreau does, and then Thomas Chabot at the blue line. Does he backpedal and try to play goalie somewhat, or do you like the move on his backhand, trying to whack down a bouncing puck and keep it alive with plenty of time left in the game? Pilsy, I want your first take on this one, and then we're going to bring in the host of Locked On Wild. We'll break it down a little more with Seth Tupal.
Seth Tupal.
Yep, Seth is back. He's waiting, so I'll keep this short and sweet. But Martian, I actually, for once, I disagree with you. Usually we were on the same terms. I love that play because it seemed like the Sens had a lot of momentum. Like I said, it was too little too late. They were running out of time there as it was. I feel like they needed to make that push. And like Ross said, they played well with a 2-man advantage. Granted, a 5-on-3 is very different than a 6-on-4.
A lot less ice.
A lot less ice. I'm fully willing to accept that, but I just felt like they had the momentum going, and sometimes you got to take a risk. Like Tim Stützle says, no risk, no fun. So I was hoping for a little more fun rather than risk there, but it doesn't always work out that way. But yeah, it's tough that Chabot kind of bobbles that one, but I don't think the idea was bad so much as just some bad puck luck there, and Freddie Gaudreau gets it on the breakaway. So not the best, but I like the risk at the time. You got to gamble sometimes if you want to take a push to winning meaningful games.
Yeah, and as far as losses goes too, Pillsy, like I don't really mind this one. You know, like there was plenty of losses last year where you just knew they were never going to come back and win. This one, even though they didn't bring their best game, it felt like that they were still in. They hung in there, right? Like anything could have happened there.
They hung in like they were on the receiving end of a Muhammad Ali beatdown. Like the second period, the shots are 18-3, not much offense going on at all. And we have some comments about Thomas Chabot, who does have goals in back-to-back games defensively. I think it's a different story, and that feels like something we can get into on the Postcast after dark. But without further ado, we got to bring in our good buddy, Seth Tupel, out in Minnesota right now, host of Locked On Wild. How'd that one look from your perspective, brother?
Fellas, we're back, I think. Man, that was a fun game to watch, and I can imagine it was a little frustrating to see the Wild take advantage of just winning every puck battle there in the second period. It seemed like every time there was a puck on the corner, Wild came up with it. They dominated in time of possession,
100%.
but they didn't really ever kind of distance themselves in this one. They allowed Ottawa to hang around, and so you dominate time of possession, you dominate in just about every category, but the Senators were in it right till the end on that power play, and I'll throw in on that one. I'll throw my hat into the ring on that decision. I like the call to go for the 2-man advantage. I just think it was a little disorganized to start, and if they get something up top just to kind of calm it down and realize, okay, we got a 6-on-4. Let's take advantage. Maybe they get a better look, but it was discombobulated from the start, and the Wild took advantage. And tip of the cap to Andre Fleury. He was.
I mean, that was where I was going to go with that, Seth. Like that save on DeBrincat in the second period.
Which one? The end of the first or end of the second? He robbed him at both.
The one where basically DeBrincat ended up having half the net to shoot at, and he ended up kind of shooting it right into his glove, and Fleury threw a lot of sugar on that. And
end of the first, then.
At the end of the first, then, yeah, that save right there, that was, I think, a huge, like, I don't know what even to call it. It's not a turning point.
Momentum saver, no, because
it was it was a momentum saver for sure. Because if the Sens would have scored there, we're looking at a whole different game, right? At that point, DeBrincat would have had 2 on the board. They would have been a tie game. But that was a huge save in a key moment. And that was one of those times where I was like, you know what? DeBrincat's been kind of snake bitten, but that was the first time I've been like, dude, we need you to bury that one. Like, you got to put that one in the net. You are here for that reason. You get an opportunity like that, we're going to need you to score.
Well, Alex, DeBrincat's a disher now. I don't know if you've heard. Fifth in 7 games. He sets up Thomas Chabot on that 5-on-3 cross-seam pass, one that he's been on the receiving end of for a number of years. But ultimately, the Minnesota Wild win this one 4-2. And my prevailing thought is after the second period, how the heck was that a 2-goal game? Where, Seth, do you think the Wild could have buried their chances a little bit better? Because to me, that could have been 4-5-1 after the second.
I gotta give some praise for Forsberg too. It seems like the Wild had a ton of really good looks right around the net, and he was on his game. Even though you look at the score and you might think he let in 4. Well, one of them was an empty netter, but I thought Forsberg was great. The Wild had no shortage of instances where they had good opportunities. They just in this game they just couldn't bury them. I mean, the one that really sticks out to me was the Boldy Zuccarello just basically playing catch out there right in front of the net and not being able to come up with a score there. Ultimately, you got to feel good that those looks will end up in goals later on in the season, but it's just one of those where you feel fortunate that you got your goals early on and were able to hang on for the win.
Well, if you're wondering where the Ottawa Senators fan base is right now, Darius comments saying the Sens need to trade for Patty Kane and Seth Jones. So season's lost unless they add $20 million in cap right now with those. Darius, deep breath, brother. It's 5th game of a 5-game homestand. And I saw someone in the chat agreeing with me too. Like, I almost feel like 5 games is too long of a homestand this early in the season. Like, give me a 2-3, even a 4-gamer, and get out of town, get some camaraderie going. Like Ottawa's schedule so far, maybe the teams haven't been the top echelon. They haven't played any of the heavy hitters yet necessarily, because I'm not counting Toronto in that mix, especially how they started. But they start in Buffalo, then Toronto, and they're back home. Like that's a bus ride from Buffalo to Toronto, and then take either the train, your choice, but it's right around the corner. So I want to see this team get out on the road, play a couple as well. But yeah, 2.5 weeks at home feels like a lot this early in the season. And had the Halloween party on Tuesday night.
There it is. Okay, that's where I was gonna go with that. I was gonna say maybe that's a postcast after dark topic, but we know the boys were at the House of Targ not 2 nights ago, just ripping it up there. Private party, I might add. So, they were getting after it. No cameras, right? So
no kitchen staff got in there, like they did at Matthew.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, I think that might have been a bit of a 2-day hangover for the boys.
We posted, this seems like a postcast after dark. We'll get into more of it, but Brady Tkachuk mixing drinks at the end of the year party was all-time comedy, because they kept giving away bike helmet and shades after every win. He's out there, no tarp, full apron with the bike helmet and glasses. Let's just say he's not winning any bartending competitions with this one. Now, a lot of people mentioning Ottawa was out-coached tonight. Pilsy, what's your take on that sentiment?
I don't think outcoach is really fair. Like you mentioned, I just feel like this was a long homestand. You just come off a 4-game win streak. Like, I'm not going to sit here and feel like we need to get the whip out and have a whipping boy for the reason that this team lost. Like, it's nothing like that. And sure, they play a brutal second period, but if you take a look at the third period, and I thought the Ottawa Senators started this game off hot. Ross, your key to victory was have the fourth line start this game and be out there banging bodies. Well, Austin Watson took that message to heart as he gets in a scrap right away. And Martian, as you tweeted out, he actually won that fight. And I think I think his hands hurt, guys, because he's not used to landing punches. He's usually just bear hugging, and it doesn't last too long. So that was a good start for Waddy. And then Brady bringing the energy fighting Dumba there. Like, I thought it was a decent first period, not an amazing first period, but really it's all lost when you lose all that momentum in the second, and then they don't have enough time to tie things up late, unfortunately. So I don't agree with the DJ Smith coaching issues, and he's been on the show, so we give him a little extra lead there, Ross.
Yeah, friend of the show status, for DJ.
Now, one thing I want to bring up as well, and shout out Brady Tkachuk extending his undefeated record in NHL fights. This kid is just a bully out there when he gets going. But I'm not buying the DJ Smith slander per se. But tonight there were a couple opportunities where I'm looking out there, and 22 is not only in the lineup, but he's sneaking up playing shifts with 85. And I don't need him playing with Jake Sainz.
And he's out there on the PK too, right?
No,
like, it's like
running around.
He's already disadvantaged as it is. Like, you don't want to double down on that. I don't understand that decision either. But
and interesting where the analytics come in as well, because I thought that the Sens fourth line was their best line through 2 periods. Like, they were banging bodies 47, 45, and 16. And you already talked about Austin Watson getting hit in dirty. I thought Kaslik had a couple of good hits, a couple of good puck carries. And then I look after the game, and Natural Statric has them as like by far the worst players on the ice when it comes to shot share. Parker Kelly at 20% of the shot share, Kaslik at 22, and Watson at 27. But just above them is Shane Pinto, a guy who we were just waxing poetically about with Locked On Wild and Seth yesterday on our crossover. And I thought that third line as a whole wasn't really getting a lot done. Tyler Mott couldn't hold on to pucks very well. What I liked, though, was Matthew Joseph going with the B game and absolutely blowing up Matt Zuccarello in the second period. And he kind of immersed himself physically in this game and had some wild players chasing him around after whistles and whatnot. So at least he was able to make a secondary impact on the game. Pilsy, what did you think of Shane Pinto and Tyler Mott? I know, is the 7-year contract still on the table for you with Tyler Mott?
Maybe bump that down to a 6-year deal there. Quick change there. But I think, yeah, it definitely was Shane Pinto's worst game of the year. But when you have a start like Shane Pinto, that's a high bar to fall under. So I'm not too worried there. So someone that I really highlighted, and Seth, I'll snap it over to you for this one, is you talked to us a lot about how Matthew Dumba's game really seems to be declining. And the only things I noticed from Dumba were poor penalties, trying and failing to get, well, I guess not failing to get under Brady Tkachuk's skin. He ends up dropping the gloves, and Brady gets the better of that one. But I had that in mind watching this, and I'm with you. It really seems like the Matthew Dumba that the Minnesota Wild have been accustomed to recently is not that guy anymore.
Yeah, he just really seems like a lot of what he normally brings to the table is just not there. I mean, he was never a real elite defensive defenseman. He was always somebody that gives you some offensive upside on D, but like he just does not really give you much in that category right now, and the turnovers just continue to mount, and it seems like he is just kind of throwing himself at opposing players to try to jar the puck loose. Just is not really. I don't know if he's real sure of himself at this point. Demoted down to the third line. John Merrill is easily the better defenseman in that pairing right now. So, yeah, it's been a fall for Dumba so far this year, and that penalty at the end, I just was saying to myself, and that's something that I'll key in on probably in tomorrow's episode, is that's a penalty you just can't take. I don't care what's going on in front of the net. You can't take that type of a penalty at that time in the game. And thankfully it didn't end up hurting the Wild, but it very easily could have. And there would have been a lot of people pointing the finger there, and rightfully so.
Before I get to Martian's Sens Central standout first, Martian had boots on the ground. He's back on the streets. Seth, did you have a problem with either of those penalties that put the Wild down 5-on-3 where the Sens were able to get back into the game and make it 3-2?
Maybe the second one, but I didn't really have a problem with the one that put the Senators on the power play to begin with. I didn't really get a good look at that second one. I think it was Hartman that was called for it.
Yeah, a bit of a hold. He kind of reached out, but then they got Shabbat back for a similar hold after the empty netters. It was already over, but similar type holds.
And you look at that 5-on-3, and that's just classic. That's just a classic get your team out of position and capitalize. Like the Wild were swung around behind the net, then they were pulled over way to the right, and just great puck movement by the Senators to bury that one to get it to a 1-goal game.
Absolutely. Coming up, we'll get to our Sens Central standouts, and then the Postcast After Dark, where we have jerseys, DJ Smith, and a whole lot more to discuss. That will be exclusively available on our YouTube channel. But Pilsy, why don't you say hello to our friends at BetOnline, because I'm mad at them after all they stole from me after tonight's game.
Yeah, boys, we've been having a good time with our bets on the Ottawa Senators at betonline.ag. But what comes up must come down, and you got it. There's ebbs and flows to the sports gambling life. But the way to do it and the way to get the best information and the latest odds, totals, player performance props is, of course, at betonline.net, the trusted online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. And there's more than just Ottawa Senators games there. You can do football, basketball, baseball, golf, boxing, UFC, whatever you like, you got it. And Martian's mentioning that although the Sens didn't win, he sprinkled a little extra on some props. Alex DeBrincat goal cashing in for Martian, cha-ching. So that's why you go to betonline.ag, because it's more than just the money line, the spread, the over-under. They got lots of fun stuff you can bet on. So check it out today. betonline.net. That's where the game starts.
You are listening to the Postcast after the Ottawa Senators suffered their first loss at home this season. They're now 4-1 and embark on a road trip that takes them down to sunny Florida, where they'll take on the Florida Panthers on Saturday afternoon before taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning on Tuesday, November 1st, with my parents in attendance. It's my mom's birthday. It's a milestone birthday, so I'm labeling it now. Tuesday in Tampa is a must-win game for the Ottawa Senators. We had the must-win game in the home opener, and it worked, Pilsy, so I'm doubling back at that right now. We're going to go to the man who had boots on the ground first tonight. We're also, in addition to Sens Central standout, how about this? That guy is wild. Give me one Wild player that impressed you as well.
Oh, I get to give you a Wild player too. Okay, great.
Pretty wild, hey?
Yeah, that is wild. Well, let me start off with my Sens Central standout here, and I'm gonna leave the low-hanging one because I know that there's a certain player who did make me a little bit of money tonight who I'd love to go with, but it's not going to be that guy tonight. I'm going to go with somebody who's a bit of an unsung guy usually and doesn't get enough credit around here, and that's Travis Hamonic, guys. Travis Hamonic had a good game today. Solid game. Like every time I looked up and I'm like, who just stopped that, that rush? And it's number 23. Who just blocked that shot? Number 23. Who's out there just being solid and not effing around? It's Travis Hamonic, and he gets his job done every time. And I know that everybody really wants him to be the new whipping boy of this team, but it's not going to happen. It's not. He's actually solid, boys. He's doing the job. So you can't really give a guy that hard of a time. He had an assist tonight on the DeBrincat goal, keeping that puck in play. He had I think a couple. He had 4 hits. So and 18 solid minutes for me. And just watching the game, and I'm always the guy who will appreciate a good defensive defenseman. Travis Hamonic's my standout tonight.
Should we snap it back to you for your wild? Why don't we, just because there's 4 of us, we don't want it to get too caught up. Give me your wild player that impressed you, and we'll snap it around. Unless, Pills, did you have some reaction to Travis Hamonic? What did you think of his game, Pills?
Yeah, I thought it was fine, and I thought him and Sanderson have kind of been the nice pair that's keeping things afloat here, because I think Brandy's been decent too, but then having Zaitsev on that pair makes things tough. So yeah, I think a lot of the online discussion is the only reason Sanderson and Hamonic are good is because Sanderson is so good, but I feel like Hamonic deserves a bit of credit there. So I like that, Martian.
Yeah, you know what I'll say though, Martian, is like Hamonic had 4 shots on goal tonight. Less is more from him from the blue line. I feel like he's somewhat of an offensive like zone time killer.
You know what? Actually, so funny too. There was one play where he was like way on the far side of the ice, and the Sens were kind of breaking in with 2 or 3 guys on the left side, and he kind of decided to jump in, and he's beaver tapping with like, he's got 2 wild guys like right over the guy who's gonna, and there was no way that pass was ever gonna get through. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, of course, I like the eagerness.
Yeah.
Maybe calm down a little bit on that, Travis. But you're doing fine on the other end of the ice. So
we'll give him that. All right, Martian, give us your Minnesota player that stood out to you.
This is the easiest choice I've ever been able to make, and this guy stood out to me from the first shift that he stepped on the ice because I didn't realize even how big this player was, and it's Ryan Hartman. He looked so good, I thought. Having boots on the ground, I was in the 200 level, which is like a great area to like be able to view the game too, right? Number 38, I was like, who is this? I'm like, oh my God, is that Ryan Hartman? And he was hitting hard, and he ended up with the goal and assist, so 2-point night as well for him, right? But like to me, I was just like, oh my God, this is a player out here, and he looked like a little bit like a 4th line grinder, but then when he got the puck, he looked like a skilled guy. So I mean, I was loving his game out there. Seth, I know you guys were giving him a bit of a hard time on the crossover episode there, and I know he hasn't had a great season, but you guys need that guy to go for that team to go, and he's the engine. And I think like if he has good games like that going forward, then I think the Wild would be fine because he looked nice.
Seth, how are you feeling about Hartman? Because you were a little hard on him the other day.
I was, and it seemed like Hartman was super frustrated about his start to the season, not scoring at the same clip that he did to start the year. But we got to keep in mind that Kirill Kaprizov just wasn't netting the puck at his usual rate to start the year last year, so he picked up the slack there. I think getting down to the 3rd line with Joel Eriksson Ek has kind of taken some pressure off of him and putting him at a wing, so he doesn't have to deal with trying to win faceoffs and all those other things that go into being a center, and just being able to be a guy that's going to shoot the puck and is going to fight for it on the edges, I think is a better fit for him right now. And
is he always that physical, Seth?
That's been, I think, more of his game that we've seen over the last few years with Minnesota, is that he just is a guy that'll kind of grind it out and be more of a defensive presence. The offense got added to the arsenal last year with 34 goals. And so that part of his game has always been there. The offense has been the part that we've kind of been hoping to see more of. And I'll take more of those types of goals here tonight. But I was encouraged. We do need to just tone it down on the penalties a bit, because
he took 2 tonight, right?
Yeah, he had the one where he retaliated that took a wild power play off the board. And when you got a power play one,
That was a
likes
Brady
of
Tkachuk
the
special
Wild,
too, right there. I think, right?
yeah.
That's classic Brady, though. You can't give your guy too hard of a time when Brady's doing that because like he does that to everybody.
Yeah, when you have a power play one like the Wild do, you got to give those guys the opportunity to be on the ice as many times as they can. So just one of those things. It's like you learn from it, you move on, but ultimately we'll take the dub.
Seth, this is obviously Locked On Senators, and we want to send everyone to Locked On Wild as well. Well, you'll break down this game in more detail tomorrow. I do want to know which Wild player impressed you, but I'm always curious of guys who don't look at the Ottawa Senators 82 games in and out. Who looked good out there for you in black?
You know, with as much as the Wild dominated in puck possession and the amount of zone time that they had, especially in the second period, I got to give it to Forsberg. I feel like this game could have been much more lopsided than it was if not for some really good saves and just keeping the Wild from kind of building that comfortable lead. So I'm gonna go with him. I would also go with the Wild killer, DeBrincat, for getting that first goal for the Sens. But I'm going to give it to Forsberg. I think it was the reason that this wasn't like a 5-1 or a 4-1 type game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a solid choice. And then, who's your Wild player of the game? I'm struggling to think of a good
Keep it goalie
alliteration
friendly.
word. What about a Minnesota man? Who's your Minnesota man of the game?
You know, I mean, let's go honorable mention to Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm going to go with Freddie Gaudreau for the not necessarily a Minnesota-born guy, but Freddie Gaudreau, the 1C tonight. And you look at what the top line for the Wild was able to do in this one tonight. Top line guys for the Sens were collectively a -3, which I don't think you guys see that often. Got the empty netter at the end, and just good to have a guy that can kind of win those battles and keep more possession for Kaprizov and Zuccarello.
After tonight's game, Dean Evanson had a nice thing to say. I want Minnesota man Seth Tupel to read what the head coach of the Minnesota Wild thought after this game.
Dino, I thought our team was great. That's a hell of a hockey club that we just played, and we talked about it before, and their skill set, their grit, their determination, they've got every element.
Well, obviously, I played off of that with Sheldon Keefe in Toronto talking about how much respect they got in the handshake line after losing in 7 games again last year. I think it was John Cooper that said that, or no, Sheldon Keefe after Tampa gave them so much respect in that handshake line. I'm not here for the handshake respect, but it is nice when other coaches, because they were saying that about the Sens in 2019, Pilsy. Oh, they work hard. They're a good team. No, they weren't.
Yeah, they really weren't. That was just like a pity nice thing to say. But now I feel like we can take it with some genuine approach here.
All right, Marc, Pilsy, give me your Sens Central standout tonight.
Well, if Seth went officially with Forsberg, then I'm going to take DeBrincat. I know that was your honorable mention, Seth, but I'm desperate here. I don't have a lot of other guys to go to. So sorry, Ross. You
Good luck,
snapped at
Ross.
me. I'm taking it. I got to because I don't have much of a choice. A goal and an assist, 7 shots on goal again. He plays 24 minutes other than Thomas Chabot. That's most on the Ottawa Senators. So he was out there a lot, and he could have had a hattie. He could have had his first hattie with the team if Marc-Andre Fleury doesn't make that glove save. And then there's another save later on that was kind of a falling over dive save for Fleury that DeBrincat could have had.
Right in his chest, though, and that was tough. But what else are you going to do? He was flying.
Yeah, and then I think DeBrincat had a one-time or two that I believe Jared Spurgeon blocked on the power play. So he was out there. The boys were feeding him. To people that are worried about the goal totals, I'm not. He's been looking good. So DeBrincat is my Sens Central stand.
Another night with like 7 shots on goal.
7 shots, Martian.
How many times has he done that?
He's got to be close to the top of the league in scoring.
He had 33 shots when they put it on the scoreboard at the game.
Well, if I'm looking right now, 6th in the NHL in scoring, and every other player has played a game more.
You mean shots?
Shots, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 8 points in 7 games, 35 shots on goal. Everyone else above him has played 8, if not 9 games, if you're Timo Meier.
Yeah, that's a lot of shots.
Timo Meier has no goals on 42 shots. Can we talk about that for half a second?
Sheesh.
No goals on 42 shots.
That's a guy that can light the lamp usually.
You know what?
Wow.
There's no issue with me sharing the screen on this one. This is actually, you know what? This is Postcast After Dark. We'll get to that in just a minute. I'll wrap up with my Sens Central standout, and then Pillsy. I want to hear one wild player that impressed you. But boys, how'd you leave Brady Tkachuk on the table? Like, this guy, his shot share was elite tonight in a game where they got dominated in puck possession. He was still out there, way positive. When he's on the ice at 5-on-5 in over 12 minutes, Ottawa had 17 shot attempts and Minnesota had 7. Contrast that with what the finals were in this game. He brought his presence physically. Pilsy, what do we say about him playing on a line with Timmy? He's going to give him a little more space and he's going to protect him. Kind of like what the Wild
love
did
that.
playing Marcus Foligno with Rossi and Boldy, is that they've got Brady in there to be like, hey, I dare you to touch Timmy.
Yeah, he was like, as soon as somebody touched him, he was like, no, you have to fight me now.
Check button, let's go. And Brady's got a near perfect record, Seth, in fights in the NHL. He lost one in his rookie year, I want to say, to Jonathan Ericsson from Detroit, big defenseman, but he took care of Blake Wheeler. He took care of Shea Weber.
Was it Ericsson or Abdelkader?
I think it might have been Abdelkader.
He fought both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might have been Abdelkader, though, because Ericsson was his first fight, and it was kind of back and forth. That's the one where he said,
behind the net. Yeah.
Just paying rent. He was living with Mark Stone. Ericsson hit Mark Stone, and he's like, all right, got to pay rent. Let's go. Drop the mitts. But Brady Tkachuk's my standout tonight. You talk about what he did in terms of shot share, but even on the score sheet, like, it doesn't show up all the time, but I still think, this is the Sens team leader in scoring, and I love what he brings game in, game out, and it was
what do you call it, Ross?
Game.
Like if you had to put a simple term on it, it's captain shit.
Yeah, that's all it is, man. When Brady Tkachuk gets going, and you don't love the outcome. -3, plus minus stats are for losers. Yeah. I thought he looked good. One thing they got to fix though, and I need to get this in the regular postcast. Losing the first faceoff on a power play is the most dejecting thing all time. Get the offensive zone faceoff. The music's blaring in the rink. Everyone's feeling good. You lose the draw, sends it down 20 seconds. You're like, this sucks. So that's too bad from that standpoint. And when I look at the Minnesota Wild tonight, it's like I got a few guys here I could choose from, but have you guys actually left 97 still on the board?
I was hoping to get it back.
Yeah,
you weren't taking that though. He
looked sick. There was moments where I'm like, man, he's as nasty as they say he is. Yeah.
Every time he touches the puck, I kind of scoop to the edge of my seat. It's like, what the hell is this guy going to do? Because he's small, he's shifty, and next thing you know, he's done 12 things with the puck, and I'm kind of looking around like, oh, sick. Yeah, I barely blinked in this amount of time. He is a super talent, Seth. And were you ever worried, Seth, this summer when the whole Russian situation was going down and he had ducked out on his military service? Were you at all worried that he wouldn't find his way back to Minnesota?
No.
That was a diagonal head shake.
I was trying to play it both ways. No, I really wasn't, because there was going to be this time of if it gets to this date and it's still not figured out, then we can start to sweat it a little bit. But Bill Guerin, under cover of nightfall, getting it taken care of. No worries there.
In the middle of war, in the cover of nightfall. But dude, that was a big story from Michael Russo when he came over. It's like, the Eagle has landed. Kirill Kaprizov is in Manhattan and has cleared customs.
Yeah, and it just kind of came up. It caught everybody a little bit by surprise, because we didn't hear. We heard a lot about it, then we heard nothing, then an update, then more of nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, he's here. Oh, okay. That's a great collective sigh of relief for the entire fan base.
Yeah, he is a hell of a hockey player.
For the league, I love watching him, except when he dazzles against the Sens, so I was happy he came back too.
Yeah, 100%. When he was on the ice, the Wild had 3 high danger scoring chances and gave up none. And
his goal was so weird too. It was almost
sharp, dude. The way he opened his body up and was able to tip it home,
I want to say it was luck, but I don't think it was.
No, I don't think it was either. He's a superstar player out there, no doubt, for the Minnesota Wild. If you want to learn more about the Minnesota Wild, again, we advise everyone to go check out Locked On Wild on YouTube, wherever they get their podcast. Pilsy, wrap this way too long edition of the Postcast up, and then we'll get into the Postcast after dark, because I hope EMVC, if I got those letters right, is still there, because we want to talk jerseys. We want to get into a little bit deeper conversation about this game, and anything we leave will be on tomorrow's Locked On Senators with Pilsy. No, you're not holding this one away. Future recurring guest, Marc Methot.
That was crispy right there.
Is that good? Should I do the pod like
keep
this?
That mic.
Yeah,
that
maybe
mic
a little.
there.
That sounded a lot better to me. I'm no audio
nice.
technician, but that sounded crispy.
We don't want to be those guys who just have the mic right in front of them, like, hello, how are you today? But I can hear that in my thing. It sounds better. Should I leave it here?
Yeah, leave it there for now. It's a little nicer, but hopefully I didn't overshadow that message, because we are very excited that Marc Methot is going to be joining us. I mean, we vibed with him great
tomorrow.
in not just tomorrow, in our crossover before, so we're excited for that. But I got to keep things moving here. I'm going with so Hartman, Gaudreau, and Kaprizov are off the board, correct?
Correct.
I will take Mats Zuccarello. I mean, other than getting absolutely rocked by Matthew Joseph, but when you're a guy like Matt Zuccarello and you're standing at 5'8", 180 pounds, you're probably going to get knocked around out there once in a while. But he had a nice goal, I thought. 7 shots on goal. We're talking about DeBrincat that had 7 shots on goal and was lighting it up. Zuccarello was similar for the Wild, and I love a good Norwegian hockey player, as there's not many, and I can confirm from Norwegian scouting trips that he is a legend there. Anytime I wanted to talk hockey with people in Norway, they're like, oh, I'm a Rangers fan. Well, Matt Zuccarello, and they love him over there, and he's had a great career, and he's kind of revived himself in Minnesota. It didn't seem like it was going to happen, and then he's popped off lately. He leads the team in points and gets another goal tonight, so that's my Minnesota man.
Seth, everyone in this chat is now putting on their Minnesota Wild pom-poms, because up next for the Wild is the Detroit Red Wings, an Atlantic Division foe who we hope loses every game for the rest of the year. We love our friends over at Locked On Detroit Red Wings, but that team, they're way too close to the Sens and how they're building this thing up. So we're hoping that you guys can get back in the win column. At Laleem's Martian had boots on the ground tonight. Pilsy and I will have Locked On Senators tomorrow with Marc Methot. Have you heard of him? Got to be top 30 all time in games played for the Ottawa Senators. And he had the best seat in the house to the best player in the last 2 decades in the Ottawa Senators, as he was Erik Karlsson's partner. For everyone who didn't know that, which is maybe 0 out of 74 in the chat still. But we're going to get to our postcast after dark. I just wanted to tease all that as things coming up tomorrow, whether you go check out Seth's recap on Locked On Wild, or check out Locked On Senators tomorrow with Marc Methot. For Seth, at Laleem's Martian and Brandon Piller, we're going to say goodbye for a minute, but then we'll be back with the postcast after dark. You're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Welcome back to the Postcast After Dark. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller at Laleem's Martian. We'll be back in a moment. Dude, I have no red wine left. How bad is that?
Yeah, you were very concerned when that finished off. I mean, that's That's your own fault there, Ross. You gotta have the safety bottle, even if it's like a $9 bottle that's just like stashed away. You need it.
This
So
was delicious, by the way. No free ads,
you'll
but we got
learn.
Rosso de Montalcino.
Yeah, Ross, we were saying last time. I know you were producing behind the scenes, but we need a vineyard sponsor for the
Buddy,
podcast. How great would that be? Just
how about we
swirl
call
a nice red wine and chalk it up.
Argiano. Martian, what do you think it would take to get Argiano to sponsor the Postcast?
So if we get like a spinoff, call it like Marciano, Marciano. Just kidding. I don't know. I don't think that'll happen, Ross. I don't know if we're their target audience.
It's so delicious. Thanks for Seth Two Pallets stopping by.
I love Seth. I thought I didn't get to say goodbye because I thought he'd maybe hang around a little bit.
I thought he would too. He told us early though. He records.
He's doing his own postcast, and he's got places to be.
They record their full episode at night, and then they put it up the next day. Gotcha. No. But they put up their little video. And by the way, check out our YouTube Reels. We're starting that, I guess. So we're fired up about that.
I guess.
No, but we've been doing them forever. But we're gonna upload them as YouTube Shorts. It's just going to be funny when someone goes to our page and it's like we're live, but you've already done a reaction video. But it's good for the next morning. If you want like a quick 50-second summary, something to talk about at the water cooler. And that's something we got to get back to next time at the Postcast. But want to get to like our water cooler stat of the day. But having 4 people on the Postcast was too much to snap around for anything little. But I loved it.
It's great. I think maybe next time, Ross, we bring the guest on for After Dark.
Yeah, let us know in the comments, though, because we're getting a note from Dustin being like, hey, I love the crossover Postcast.
Oh, I still want to do the crossover. I'm not saying no crossover. I'm just saying put it in After Dark so we can snap around, get the tight episode done.
I agree. That's probably the play. If we want to keep it tight, that would be my only thing. Like if we want to keep it under like that 20 minutes or whatever we're supposed to. It's harder with 4 guys.
Yeah, with 38 this time, probably a little much, especially after a loss. Dude, I'm so mad right now.
Wait, if we made an LOSP beer, what kind of beer are we going with? I'm a pale ale guy or a lager guy, so either one of those is good for me. Or a nice golden ale.
Lager's like a nice, easy drinker, but
simple,
not writing in like when are we getting the beer sponsor? That's Pilsey's domain.
I'm working on it. I'm working on Black Bellows.
We got the Clark MacArthur logs in the fire right now. It's just a matter of setting them to blaze.
Yeah, get a nice like white label on that Black Bellows.
Or we can just call every Tuscan winery and just act like we are the #1 sports podcast in Canada and be like, hey,
I mean,
we'll just show off your wine every day.
If we're serious about it, either Niagara, the white wine's decent, not so much the red or more red wine, but go to BC, the Okanagan. We know we got a lot of Sens fans out there. Kelowna Mission Hill Winery, no free ads, but that was my spot and one of the best in Canada. So that would be a good one. Maybe I'll start that.
I feel like I don't want to look like a hardo, but I'm just like such an Italian red guy. Does that make me a bad person?
Hey, no, but I love it like a nice Cabernet Sauvignon. That's what I'm all about. You know,
I'm more California or Australia over Italy or France personally,
really?
But
I think my 3 wines are Chianti, Brunello, and Barolo. Like anything from the Tuscan region, I'm all in for.
Yeah, you're definitely more of a wino than the rest of us here, I think, or
at least
me.
Okay,
I'm a certified wine. I have my wine learning. Like I was on my way. I wasn't gonna be a sommelier, but I like started that. So watch your mouth, Martian.
My bad.
No, all good.
Hey, EUMX has written in a question that we've been teasing throughout today's show, and we're gonna get to it right now. I want a uncommon jersey. Brandstrom, Forsberg, or Pinto, maybe even Joseph or Castier. Thank you, EUMC, for writing in a few different options for us. I'm going to take Castier right off the board right away because we're hoping he moves away from number 47.
And he's got the longest deal out of all these guys, too. That helps.
You could also say, though, that 57 for Shane Pinto won't be his full-time number.
You know what? players know what their jersey sales are.
Yeah.
They get reports on that. So
Yeah.
I think it would go greatly appreciated if you to a guy like Kastelic, he's probably not getting a ton of jersey sales. So
They don't
probably
get commish though, right? Like that's not
no.
I think that's only in college.
No, it's more of just like a clout thing, I think.
Live look of Artem Zub looking. When he sees how many jerseys he's sold, this guy, man, you can't go around.
I know.
EUMX, great options, but the correct answer is not on the board. Number 39, Magnus Hellberg is the correct answer here. He's saying uncommon. Who has one yet? I need to get on one. I keep talking about it. I need to get on one, but that is the correct answer.
He's giving you bad advice because that's a horrible investment.
All right.
Don't do the Hellberg because he's going to be off the team basically as soon as you think they're going to keep him when Talbot comes back, Billsy?
He says, I want an uncommon jersey. Which fact or fiction is Hellberg more uncommon than all of these names?
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely more uncommon.
Thank you.
But guys, I don't know. What's that?
It's Anton Forsberg.
Yeah, I think I think goalie friendly is the way to go.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like Pinto, if he was rocking 22, I'd be all over that. But like, come on, nobody wants a number 57 jersey at home.
Yeah, it'll be a throwback. It'll be a retro.
Yeah.
Like if you had a Spezza 39, man.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You know what? Yeah, I respect it. If you think that he's going to be that level player, I mean, sure, why not?
Even Joseph would be cool. He's like one of the coolest. He's one of the cooler guys, I think, from the outside looking in on the
4-year deal.
I think people like him, right? I think that would be a fine choice. But there's been so many players who've worn 21, especially recently, right? That it's like almost like you see it from a distance. Like, is that a Nick Paul jersey?
Hey, no. So don't say anymore. I love putting Pilsy on the spot. Pilsy, we're going to now go through how many number 21s can you name in Ottawa Senators franchise history? And then
I can't do
Marc
this
will come in and help you afterwards. But how many players can you name out of the 16 that have worn number 20? Wow. And I'll tell you this, 4 have worn them since we started this podcast.
Man, this is not good.
You have to at least get the 4.
I honestly don't know if I can.
Martian, will you be able to help him out? Don't give us the answers, but do you think you'll be able to get those 4?
Yeah, I'm drawing blanks here. This is bad.
Yeah, I think so.
Martian, just take it over. I can't even think of any, honestly. Maybe.
Dude, who's to model his game after?
Are we including?
Okay. I mean, I can't believe I forgot Derek Stepan. So yeah.
Yes. That was the funny one that I wanted to say too. Okay, so that was an easy one.
I'm not a numbers guy, and you guys know 420 Pilsy, my goldfish brain can't handle. Not a stats guy. Those are stats.
Okay, Pilsy, think about this one. This guy changed his number to 13 afterwards.
Oh yeah, Nick Paul. Yeah, you already said it, so I didn't.
And then Joseph would be 3.
All right, this guy is the biggest bust they've drafted in the first round in the last 10 years.
Logan Brown.
Hey, buddy, it's not your trivia.
No, it is. Thank you. I should have got that too.
I have a really funny story about that, actually. I know a guy who I used to work with who was at a Sens game, and he was like big into like the prospects as they were coming up, like early days of the rebuild, and Logan Brown was playing that game, and he said, if Logan Brown scores this game, I'm going to buy his jersey. And he has a Logan Brown red, like 3D Sens jersey. It's a tough one.
We saw one of the nicest Logan Brown goals. We're in the perfect location. However, it was.
Are you talking about rookie camp?
No.
Okay.
No, was it playing the Marlies in Toronto? Remember, we went. He was short side cheese. Literally, we were like 5 rows up at center ice at Ricoh Coliseum, and he put it bar down. It was so nasty.
Yeah, that was a good one. I thought you were talking about his rookie camp
season. No. I scored the sickest goal, man. Can you name any others, fellas? Because I could have done 2 more. Obviously, I have the list in front of me. There's at least 2 that I feel.
You're a Sens encyclopedia. It's not fair.
Okay.
There's a few that I would have no idea.
Let me go.
I don't know who David Oliver even is.
Okay, but what about
There's
Like-
really just one that I'm looking for right now, and I hope people in the chat can write this.
Did
What's the
Brass wear
Russian
it?
kid? Nikita Filatov.
Yeah, but that's not the one I was bringing up, and I saw it in the chat before you said it. So I'm not saying that you looked there, but there's
I don't look at the
a
chat
guy
too
who played
often.
well for the Ottawa Senators wearing number 21. We
Is
don't
it
want to go too
Verata?
much on here. No, he was 26.
Jason Smith.
He did, yes. There's another one, not the one I was
Nice.
saying. The guy right before him wore it for 3 years. It's actually the longest the number's ever been worn. Yellow Synergy is my tee up.
Oh,
for.
Smolinski?
Hey!
Okay, nice.
Here we
I
go.
thought he was a number 12.
Damn.
Brian
I liked
Smolinski.
him too.
Come on, Brian Smolinski.
Yeah, I liked him when I was a kid. The Yellow Synergy was actually a great hint, Ross.
I love that you were able to get it off of that quote. Here's the full list of players who have worn number 21 for the Ottawa Senators. The only other ones I would have expected you to even close to get
Koska, I
be
guess.
like maybe Mike Costa.
Oh,
but
damn. Guest of the... Didn't we have Dennis Viala on the show?
no, that's Drake Bathison's uncle. You're thinking of works for the Boston Bruins now. What's his name?
Bonvi.
Dennis Bond.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I had the Dennis.
You guys.
We got to get Viala on the show.
You
Yeah,
should
be
get
good.
back on. The Bonvi.
Yeah, he didn't like us that much.
Oh.
It's all good though. We aren't going to get too current. Hey, we should be talking about the game though, and let's get in particular to DJ Smith's decision with 2 minutes left. Like, I get it, but at the same time, I would have liked to the puck at least be like under control at the top and like setting up around from there. Like, Pillsy, were you okay with pulling it? The cue was definitely we win the draw, goalie come. Like that had to be what it was. And I guess another kind of wrinkle to this is that DJ Smith already used his timeout going into the 5-on-3. So the refs were actually pretty lenient with how long they let it go before, but he didn't have time to gather the troops and be like, hey, this is what we're doing ABC.
Correct decision, poor execution. That's what I'll chalk it up to. I think, am I advocating to pull the goalie on every power play and have a 6-on-4? No, it's not always the correct time. But as a coach, you got to feel the energy. You got to read the room, right? And I thought you read the room right. There was good momentum. The guys were clicking. Maybe I wouldn't have had Thomas Chabot as the guy there, as Marc and we were talking about it in the chat. He didn't exactly look good defensively. Sure, he gets that goal, and I thought he had a couple looks offensively, but defensively, not so great. So maybe you get, was he the only defenseman out there, or was Sandy or Brandy out there too? I forget all the 6 guys, but either way, I probably wouldn't have had Chabot as the top guy just with the way he was playing in tonight's game. And he already was up at 25, 26 minutes. So he was at the top there. So I think, again, I'll repeat, just short and sweet, right decision, poor execution.
Oh,
Marc, if you have to blame someone on this, are you, because they need someone to blame. Are you blaming Drake Batherson for attempting that pass right up the middle between 3 bodies? Or are you blaming Thomas Chabot for thinking that he could bat out of midair and keep it inside the blue line? Or would you have preferred to see him backpedal?
I mean, in hindsight, he probably should have backpedaled, but actually, like, my blame goes a different direction. I go to DJ Smith, and that to me, I feel like the net shouldn't have been empty in the first place. I think you gotta wait that out, but I don't know. No, to me, I don't want to blame either of those guys because they're just trying to make the play and they just don't make it. That's all it is, right? It's like, I don't know. It's hard.
Pillsy, if I had to ask you to guess, how many minutes did Nikita Zaitsev play tonight? What would your answer be?
Well, I know I looked at all the minutes.
Carson, did you look?
I didn't look. I didn't have time.
Yes. You were there. What'd you guess?
I would guess probably somewhere. He didn't play much in the third that I noticed.
Oh, I'm going to actually look into that further.
I think he probably played 10 minutes.
12.
And 3 of those shorthanded. So that's when people are hopping on Zaitsev's game, he barely played, and
9 minutes
without Nick Holden, you need someone to play those shorthanded minutes. Obviously, I didn't think he had a great game out there, and he didn't really help much. But if we're looking for if we're playing the blame game, I'm not pointing at the third pair defenseman that played 12
No,
minutes.
I mean me either. But yeah, but how long did he play in the third?
3 minutes.
3 minutes in the third?
Yeah, 3 minutes on the 2:59 in the third.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he got like 3 shifts.
So that's DJ being like he doesn't have it. I'm not playing him, and you could tell like if this was a game where maybe the Sens have the lead and they're trying to shut things down, maybe DJ puts Zaitsev out more. But they're trying to create offense. They're trying to get a goal here. Zaitsev get comfortable on the bench for the third. I think is the right play.
I like James Mitchell here though. Shared success, shared defeat. No blaming one guy for any single play.
No, that's true. That's a good thing. They, as a unit, they could have got it done. Man, the Brinkets had so many chances again.
We wanted to bring this up. And I'm glad you did. So, what's your scouting report now that you've seen him a few times in person?
He's amazing. He's definitely their best forward on most occasions. I feel like the way he moves the puck is great. I feel like he's a hell of a hockey player. People don't realize like everybody. I thought he was just a trigger man, right? Didn't you just think he was just like a guy who's going to hold the puck for like a split second and it's going to be in the back of the net and that's when you see him? But to me, yeah, he is actually a bit of a playmaker and he carries the puck all the time. So, and when he has the puck in the offensive zone, he never turns it over. He gets it to one of his guys.
35 shots on goal in 7 games, Pilsy. It's got to come eventually, no?
Oh, it's coming now. The floodgates are open. Like he got that goal. No Norris. This team needs goals more than ever. He's still getting pucks on net. He's still involved in the play. I think we're really going to see him pour it on here.
All right, Pilsy, final thoughts on tonight's game because we got to save some for Marc Methot, who looked like a picnic. You know, they say that you look like a snack. He literally looked like a picnic table.
I actually thought it kind of worked.
I didn't see it.
It's a crazy suit, but go on Twitter.
Pull it up. I gotta get my.
It's crazy suit, but I thought it worked.
Marshall, don't look. We got to get your initial reaction. Pull it up on the screen right now because Marc actually messaged on Twitter, he tweeted and to everyone and said Mark Stone texted me after the opening hit and said, "I'll take the picnic tablecloth pattern, please."
I mean, it's dead on. It is dead on.
That's pure gold.
Dude, it's dead on. So Marc Methot joins Locked On Senators tomorrow, and not only tomorrow, but we are looking at a new recurring guest on the show. Martian, I need your immediate thoughts on Marc.
Now that, my first reaction now is the picnic table because that's what's in my head. But yeah, that's loud. I like it. Other than the picnic table reference now, I think it's good.
But Ross, this is something we learned in the College of Sports Media. A couple mistakes here. The tie and the pocket kerchief do not match. That is, you're going to lose points on that one. So that's tough right there. And
the blue does clash quite a bit with the red and I guess pink. So
yeah, so unless there was like some sort of like cancer night where that's the color or some sort of promotional night, I'm gonna have to dock him on points for not matching the kerchief and the tie.
Pilsy, should we bring this up with him tomorrow?
You have to.
Absolutely, because Ross, as everyone knows watching our show, our fashion is absolutely top peak, and we always are dressed to the nines. So we are able to dish out.
You know what, guys? You better be careful. Because, that guy was in the NHL locker room for a long time. So he's received his fair share of chirps. So he's going to know how to rebuttal. So you guys better be careful.
That's definitely fair.
Like, just
turkeys.
Yeah, tread lately, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
hey, let us know in the chat if there's anything you want us to bring up with Marc Methot. We had a lot of great messages after we had both he and Brent Wallace and Craig Medaglia on of how I guess we're getting more out of him of some kind. Like, I think he's going to be in a pretty relaxed mood tomorrow. I'm really excited to chat with him. So if there's anything in particular that the people want to hear from Marc, let us know right now and I'll write it down and we'll get involved with him. We want it to be a fun segment every week. I got told Meth Head Mondays doesn't work. I guess I'll have to live with that. But
what about Method Monday? So we still get the meth in there without so much of a nod to a heavy
method to our Mondays.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think that's the play.
All right, we'll play.
I think that he needs to continue to be thrown at the board. We'll see what goes here.
Something with
we're
method,
on to something
though.
there. You're on to something there. Yeah.
All right.
Close. We're close.
I'll see what kind of method we can pull out from this one. But we're really excited to have Marc Methot on tomorrow. Martian, any final thoughts on tonight's game? Great to see you back in the barn. What's that? 3 home games for you out of 5?
Oh boy, Marsh.
Yeah. I think I'm glad they're on the road because I feel pressure to go now because I'm like excited to go. I want to go there. Like I want to go see them. So
You got to get season tickets, man. What are you doing?
I probably should have in hindsight, but maybe next year.
Next year, yeah.
No, it is actually like, living downtown, it's not the easiest thing to get out there and get back. You got to be professional, to be honest. You got to know when to
And
leave and you got to know
you are.
when to. Yeah. I mean, I got home pretty quick tonight.
You
Like,
did. Yeah, I was
the trick
impressed.
is,
Not gonna lie.
here's my biggest tip, and I don't want
You're going to reveal it?
I don't even want to give it away.
That's 79
people
people that are going to get home quicker than you now, Martian.
Yeah, but the people who do this, actually it makes a big difference. Run. You'll pass so many people. You get out of there. Just hustle. Just run. You'll get out
Someone,
of there
okay, if LOSP memes is watching this, or someone, please make the meme of Martian and the Forrest Gump. Just Martian's secret to getting home early.
It makes a big difference. I'm not gonna lie. Separate yourself from the pack.
I love you. That's simple, but like gold.
You got to be willing to do it.
I thought you had a secret alley, or your buddy swings by, or you run to the Sensplex, or I thought you had some sort of secret here. But it's about the hustle. That Martian, that's it. It's about the hustle.
That's why I was willing to give
Smith
it away.
would like you playing the game with pace.
Martian, give me one more time. What do you do to get home quick after the Sens game?
You just run.
Oh, you're killing me. That's so good. That's awesome. All right. But yeah, we need Gatineau Greg to have you running and then have Dorian throw the Pepsi Coke at you and then have you automatically just beat Oblivion. And next thing you know, you're at Maine and Portage in Winnipeg in the cold of winter.
Oh, wow.
Pick you up and we go to the Sens Jets game on December 20th. No, that's hilarious. All in all, yeah, the Naruto run, I'm not sure what that is, but I'll have a laugh at that. I'm just in a great mood considering the Ottawa Senators 4-game win streak is over as Pilsy started. We're doing this YouTube Shorts thing, so go watch that afterwards. Takes 50 seconds. Pilsy will get you all caught up on what you need to know in tonight's game. Martian, I need your final thoughts now after tonight.
It was not their best effort. I would have liked to see a little bit more, seeing as how we were in the building. I would have liked to see a little bit more of the crowd, though, as well. So I'm taking a little responsibility here. The fans we need to get in that building. We need to give them that motivation, because when we do, it makes a huge difference.
As a guy who's been to 3 of the 5 home games, like, do you agree that 5 games is a little too much at home right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, like, if someone's like a big fan, it's hard to go to all 5. Like, that's just like if you have a normal life, there's things that are going to be conflicting with the schedule of the Sens 5 at home in a row, especially every other night. It's hard to keep up with. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're getting your cardio in if you go to 5 games and you're running out of the arena every time. So
well, you were with me for the first one, and we weren't running anywhere.
No, we certainly weren't. Yeah, that's tough there. Final thoughts for me in this one is, don't overreact. Like, this is a good team that beat the Sens. Again, we'll spin this in our own narrative. Technically a 3-2 game. They get a cheap empty net or whatever. It wasn't really a part of the game story, as we didn't talk about that empty net goal hardly at all today. So really, it's just a 3-2 loss up against a good Minnesota Wild team. It happens.
Yeah, it happens, but it's unfortunate.
Still above 500.
It's unfortunate nonetheless. The Senators are 4-3 and now head to Florida, where they'll head to South Beach, Miami, and take on the Panthers at 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. That will begin a road trip that will take them through the great state of Florida. They'll be in Tampa Bay on Tuesday. How about that, eh? They were able to bargain the 30th and the 31st off nights in Florida. Let's tomorrow we might ask Meth, because he'll know a little bit more of inside the dressing room, who the players are, who comes back with the biggest tan after 5 days in Florida. That's a little undercover game that we could play here on Locked On Senators. We're also going to ask Meth a ton about his own career. Something I'm curious about is, outside of Erik Karlsson, which defensive partner did he have during his 5 years in Ottawa that he felt the most comfortable with? I'm curious about that, because everyone talked about him with Karlsson, but Karlsson was out for like the entirety of the second year Meth was here.
Yeah, I can't even remember who he was playing with during those times.
There was a few of those hip checks he was on there with Eric Gryba. Keep your head up when those two fellas are
Oh,
out there.
yeah. That's a couple big boys back there.
Yeah. But like Marc Methot played with Sergei Gonchar. Like I want to
Yeah,
yeah, like
Hell
that's
yeah.
super
he
cool.
probably
Man.
loved that too.
Yeah, 100%. Because I've heard Sergei Gonchar loved Ottawa. I heard he
Oh,
bought
yeah.
like a bike and was just all over the bike pass of Ottawa. Like I had 6 different people tell me they ran into him in New Edinburgh. I think he was one of the rare guys. A lot of them live in Westboro or out by the rink. He was one of the rare guys that lived in Rockcliffe, which you saw every once in a
Wow.
while. Someone would be like, "Oh, I want like the old manors. Like I want to go and live out there." And it's funny to like go through that list. Alexei Kovalev was another one, but not a lot of them decide to go that lifestyle. But that's the story, not only for Marc Methot, but another day. Right now, we're wrapping up a 4-2 loss to the Minnesota Wild by the Ottawa Senators. For more, you can check out our reel on YouTube, and tomorrow's Locked On Senators will be joined by Marc Methot bright and early too. This one should be out by probably around 11 or noon, I'd say, tomorrow. But for tonight, we say goodbye. You can go follow the Martian on Twitter at Laleem's Martian. Go follow Brandon Piller at Brandon Piller1. And the show is at Sens Central. And that wraps it up for us. Thank you so much to everyone who's been in the chat. We do really appreciate it, especially Joe Bell telling me to get a Peter Bondra jersey. Buddy, you don't think I've thought about that before?
Yeah, like it might be worth it, even though he only played like 21 games.
Yeah, he scored in his first game and then never again. I want to say at 1 point in 12 games with Ottawa. But no, lots of good signs for this team. The bounce back after a brutal second period is something we'll pick up on more tomorrow. And yeah, some power plays help. But tonight, we really appreciate, and especially like they won 4 in a row, and like the postcast goes win, lose, or draw. But like it's great to see people join us even when they lose. It just shows that it's more camaraderie. It's just community, guys being dudes. And we appreciate you taking part in that. We're going to keep doing the crossovers and a whole lot more throughout the rest of the season. But for tonight, we say goodbye. For at Laleem's Martian and Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. And this has been the Postcast following a 4-2 loss on home ice to finish a 5-game homestand for the Ottawa Senators.